Hi, everybody. Today, let's put the mix in mixed media. In other words, what makes mixed media mixed media? Well, simply put, mixed media means that you are using a variety of media on your art piece. So, as long as you're using more than one media, you are doing mixed media. You could be using sprays, inks, acrylics, watercolor, Inktense blocks, tissue paper, and so on, etc. In this tutorial, I use 10 different mediums to create this beautiful art journal page. So let's get started. So the first medium I'm using is pattern paper. This is a Butterwick pattern. You can get these at the thrift store very inexpensively. I'm just going to unpack it and rip it up. I love the vintage color here. You're going to get texture. You're going to get some patterning, some script, not script, but fonts on there. It's just going to add a great initial layer. Now I could just put this right across the board, but I like ripping it up, kind of layering it. It gives a little bit of a different effect. It's not as predictable. And right now, this is just the first layer. If you were using this at a subsequent layer, it may look different. So I'm ripping them up because I don't like straight edges. And then I'm just applying this, gluing it down, and I'm using fluid matte medium as my adhesive. And I'm not counting fluid matte medium as one of the mediums amongst the 10. So I'm gluing this down. Now you can cover the whole page with it. Just put one sheet down. You could have wrinkled it up and that would add a little more texture. Or you can do what I'm doing here is I'm layering it up. And you'll notice as soon as I put a couple layers on it, the color gets darker. So that's another way. So this is adding color, pattern, texture to my first layer. And it's the media number 1. Now I'm pretty much covering the whole thing. You could leave more white space if you chose, because right now I really didn't know where this was going. So the second one that I'm going to use is napkin plies. Now you can use the excess plies that you peel off and you don't use, but what I'm using here is the top layer, but I've already harvested out the main focal image, and that left this blue colored napkin. And I thought, okay, well, I could put blue on here and use acrylic paint, but I can use the collage paper that I get from the napkin. But you do have to peel off the excess plies, as you see me doing here. And then again, I'm just going to rip this and glue it down right on top of the pattern paper. Now, I was kind of regretting that I hadn't left more white space. Then my blue paper would be a little bit more vibrant, but I solved that problem down the road. So it's a little bit more muted because you've got the blue on top of the yellow gold of the pattern paper. So this is a great use of every little last bit of a napkin. So I've harvested the focal images and now I'm using the blue that's around it. So don't throw anything out. What I do typically is if I've got little bits, I just keep throwing them in a container that I keep close by my workspace. And every once in a while when I'm working, I just look in there and I try to use what's in there. After a while, sometimes it all ends up in the trash, but in the interim, you can make use of those things. And I hope you're getting the idea here too that not all mediums have to be purchased art supplies, formal art supplies. So that's number 2. Number 3 is white gesso. And I'm just going to add back some of that white space with the white gesso. It's giving some texture. It's kind of softening some of the edges, adding the white space in. Now, you definitely could use white paint. I just like using white gesso. It's more inexpensive than white paint. And I always have it right on my work table. So I've added some white space into here. Number 4 is acrylic paint, and I will be stamping with acrylic paint right here with this foam block. And I lost some of that footage, so I apologize. But I will do some more stamping with acrylic paint later. I won't count it more than times. But there is some acrylic paint that I do kind of change up. I don't use it straight from the tube, and I'm going to count those as separate. And here I'm cleaning this foam block. I'm making sure I spray it with my Murphy's oil soap mixture, and I'm cleaning it. You need to do that. Number 5 medium is Inktense blocks. Now this is ink in the form of a block that is water activate. So all I'm doing here is scribbling it on and then activating it with water on my finger. And this is where I'm just brightening up the blues. The blue got a little faded because of how I glued it down. I wanted it a little bit more vibrant, a little bit more contrast. So I've left some of the blues the way they were, just the napkin. And then some of the blues here, I am tweaking by giving it a coat or a wash of the Inktense blocks. Now, Inktense blocks work like watercolor crayons, but they are ink and they are permanent when they are dry. So I won't have to worry about adding wet layers later. It's not going to reactivate it, smudge, and whatnot. The stamping I did with the foam block, FYI, that was Prussian blue. So I've got a lot of dark blues in there. And this is building in some contrast, some variations. Then I decide to grab a baby wipe and a stencil here, and I am removing some of that ink quickly with the baby wipe. When it's perfectly dry, it's permanent. You're not going to be able to do this, but I thought, gee, I wonder if I could do this. And the answer was yes. Now I'm grabbing acrylic paint straight out of the tube, Naples yellow, and I'm just adding a little, brightening that yellow color. And again, I like the two-tone that I got with the blue, so I'm duplicating that with the yellow. Some of it I've left just the pattern paper. And here I'm just kind of brightened it up. Then I decide to use this stencil and stencil with the Naples yellow. And right off the bat here, I'm a little underwhelmed. It's not exactly giving me the effect I want because I think maybe the yellow that I had there, I keep going and thinking, okay, well, maybe if I just keep going, I will like it. And then I decide, nope, I do not like it. So what I'm doing here, I just grabbed my blue Inktense block and I'm going over the part that I stenciled, basically erasing what I consider to be misstep in the process. No worries. So I just get rid of what I thought was a mistake. And then I'm pulling out again, erasing it through the stencil, removing the Inktense block. Here again, I'm using acrylic paint right out of the tube. This time it's burnt sienna, and I'm introducing another color that I think is going to go well. I'm just rubbing it on this swirl stamp with a makeup sponge, and then I'm going to stamp. Now, you'll notice when I'm stamping here and doing things, I'm not looking for the perfect stamp. I'm going kind of vintage. I'm going kind of, grunge. So I'm not worried about getting perfect. In fact, here it's kind of blotchy. I do come back and I off camera and I wipe off some of it and just get rid of what I consider a mistake. You're never stuck. So I'm just adding a little bit of that, adding some movement to that. Then I'm putting black acrylic paint on a script stamp and stamping with it. So I'm using acrylic paint a lot. And I guess, it is my number, one of the most used mediums that I use. But you're not limited to that. And remember, mixed media means just two. That's all you need to have to call it mixed media. I'm loving the way this background has turned out. There's so many layers, so much interest. I love the colors. I love the grunge. It just really worked well for what I wanted to do. Then I have a focal image. This is the focal image. This is from a scrapbook book pad, but I want to set it off. So I grab this stencil, and there's that circle, and I'm stenciling with black acrylic paint, just that one part of it. And I'm using a makeup sponge. I could have used a stencil brush, but again, I'm using straight up acrylic paint. That's why I'm not counting this as another medium. I am using a medium in multiple ways, using multiple techniques: stamping, stenciling, washing. But each one, different technique, but they're all straight up acrylic paint. So I just want to set off my focal image, just add a little bit more weight. Here I am using acrylic paint, and I'm just shading around the edge of my paper. This is just one of the finishing things that I need to do. I often do it around this stage when I'm not sure if I'm done. It kind of gives me a little bit of think time. And just adding a little bit more black on here just to tie it up. So the sixth medium is scrapbook paper, and I am using this girl that I cut out from a scrapbook pad from Stamperia. Their papers glue down so well. I'm using um, gel medium here, and I'm putting a coat on top to turn that into a non-porous surface. And if you're wondering where this girl comes from, it is from the Masquerade Stamperia scrapbook pad. Now, the seventh one is printed digital sentiments, or digital or printables. This is just copy paper. These are sentiments, and I am using my Embrace Possibility sentiment pack. These are digital sentiment packs that I've created that are for sale at NINNYSNAPKINS.com. I'll put the link in the description box if you're looking for sentiments. You can cut them out, you can blow them up, shrink them down so they fit perfectly on whatever you are creating. Here I'm just bubble cutting them and auditioning them in different places, and then I do finally decide to put them in the very first place that I had, and gluing them down with, I think, gel medium here, but fluid medium would work fine for copy paper. Now here, number 8 is an acrylic wash, and I am watering down acrylic paint. Now, remember that burnt sienna that I put in the background? I am giving a wash, watered down acrylic paint over top her hair. I'm turning her hair to match the reddish tone of the burnt sienna. And I'm counting this as a different medium because I've changed the acrylic paints somewhat. So I'm just giving it a light wash. I don't want it to be solid, opaque. I'm just tweaking the color. So any kind of time you have a focal image, you can change the colors by watering down acrylic paint or using Inktense blocks. Here I'm just adding a little bit of blue to the center of the flowers. Again, bringing in the colors of the background into this focal image. Now I'm shading around my focal image. This is just making it stand out from the background. And I'm using my angle brush and acrylic paint. This is exactly what I did to edge the paper. and adding a few highlights or shading to the girl's hair as well. Now, number 9 is again acrylic paint, but this time it's thinned down a little bit different to turn it into kind of writing material. Now, you can use a gel pen here. You can use a Posca pen. I'm using my fine line applicator bottle, which has thinned acrylic paint. So it's kind of like more like fluid acrylic consistency. In fact, you can buy fluid acrylic gold paint and put it in there and use it. So, but I've just kind of DIY'd mine. Now I want to add something to this. So I look at some of my printables. These are some digital printables or free printables that are just black and white. They're just on copy paper. And then I have some butterflies that are from magazines. You can get them from calendars, magazines. You can get free printable butterflies. I have a whole folder full of them. And here I'm just auditioning which ones. Do I want black and white? Do I want some orange? Bring in that orange. Do I want this yellow? What looks good? And I really like how the yellow butterfly, it's got a little bit of that burnt sienna in it. It's really coordinating well with the background. This one, I don't think stands out as well. So number 10 is a magazine cutout or calendar cutout. I'm not sure which this actually is because, as I said, it was in my stash, ready for me to combine it on this page. So those are the 10 media that I use to create this mixed media art journal page. Do you have to use 10 on every page? No. So I hope you understand how to put the mix into the mixed media. Mix it up. Use different parts from different sources. Combine them. Here for the focal image, I stenciled. I had a scrapbook something from the scrapbook page and something from a magazine. And there's my finished page. I love this so much. It really came together. I like how I brought the burnt sienna into her hair, how the yellow of the butterfly matches the yellow in the background. Everything just came together so very simply, step by step. Until next time, go get creative.